What's going on? In fact, it's Wolf of the Quarantine, and today I'm going to be taking a look at a game that was sent to me to review by the name of Volfyrion. Now, Volfyrion, which I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, is a game that's coming to Kickstarter. If what you see here looks interesting, definitely check out the link down below. Once I have it, I will definitely get that uploaded. That'll take you directly to the Kickstarter page and provide way more information than I can possibly give you here. And then, of course, the obligatory, everything you see here is a Kickstarter prototype, so it is going to be subject to change. But what is Volfyrion? Well, Volfyrion is a game set in, I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, it's Mythyria, is the world that the designers have created, where we are all kind of great houses and we are all fighting each other. It's kind of a medieval setting. But there's a dragon called Volfyrion, which you see right here. So you all are trying to up your, make your cities bigger, garrison armies in there, maybe try to command the dragon to go and attack other people using your wizards or whatever and trying to get them to go attack, but you're also sending legions at each other's cities, and really you're trying to be the last city still standing. Now, Volfyrion plays fairly straightforward if you're familiar with any deck builder, really. Everybody's going to start out with this really crappy starting deck, and everybody's starting deck is going to be identical. Throughout the course of the game, you're going to be adding cards to your deck, making it better, getting rid of some crappy cards to make it more efficient, and, on your turn you're going to play. So the way the game plays is you have your draw phase, which, more on this later, but you're going to draw your hand of cards at the beginning of your turn. Then you're going to go into your main phase. You're going to play your cards in whatever order you want them to be played in, and they're going to give you various different amounts. You're going to have like gold, I don't remember what the actual name of it is like this mystical like knowledge, I think it's called, and then there is attack power. Now what you're going to do is you can spend those on various different things. You can attack the Volfyrion and try to take special cards, relics that stay face up in front of you that give you just static buffs. You can assign buildings to each one of your cities. Now only one building can be assigned to each part of the city, and those are going to give you also static buffs. And then you can also assign troops to your cities as well, to each part of your city, and those are going to increase their defense value. Now, anything that you can spend on, all the abilities that you get, you can spend on, like I said, attacking the Volfyrion to get more relics. Maybe I can attack you to try to burn down part of your city. If your cities are burnt down, you don't get them back, but I have to, if you have troops there, I have to match the city defense plus the troop defense. So now with you having troops in each portion of the city, of course, it's going to make it harder for me to attack that part of the city. But they're generally, they're going to be taken out of your deck because of that. So you're going to have to kind of trade off and build up your deck. But throughout the course of the game, you're also going to be able to spend knowledge points to move Volfyrion to parts of your opponent's city. They would then have one turn to move him back to the center, and if he doesn't, he just burns down everything in that portion of the city. So Volfyrion's going to be kind of bouncing back and forth. Really, you're going to continue to do this until one person has cities remaining. Once one person has all of their cities burnt down, the game's over, and whoever has cities left is now declared the winner. So what do I think about Volfyrion? Well, if you haven't already guessed, behind me here, you can see several deck builders. I have some over there, some up there, and some over here. I'm a big fan of deck builders. Now what this is a center row deck builder, similar to like Star Realms, and I think it's Ascension, which I've never actually played a physical version. I have the mobile version right here. But where you have a central row of cards, I buy out of that central row, and then they refill, and there's kind of a risk reward there, because maybe I buy this card and it's really good, but then the card that replaces it is even better, and I just gave that to my opponent because I opened up the slot for it to come out. But that's basically how this game is played, is similar to those with a couple nuances. Now, the Volfyrion token, the fact that he's sitting off onto the side, you can kind of attack his lair and get relics, which are super powerful, and I really like that mechanic, because those come over here. It behooves you to try to get the ones you want faster. If you get a relic, you get to get rid of a card out of your deck, which is even better. You trash crap, so you're getting good stuff and making your deck more efficient at the same time. So that's super cool. And then you have a bunch of things over here. Your opponent can spend knowledge, which I forgot to mention when I was explaining how to play. They can spend knowledge to essentially tap your the relics that you have. So then you have to pay knowledge to untap them, because while they're tapped, they don't get to do anything. So there's this constant battle, back and forth struggle, trying to, okay, I don't want you having those because those are super good, but I'm trying to keep mine protected, and I'm having to spend them to untap them, but then you're having to spend them to tap them, and all this stuff. And then you can attack, full-on attack, and try to assault Valfyrion's lair, and it gives you basically a 4th city, and then it also locks everybody else out of being able to get those relics. So that mechanic is super cool, because it becomes a race to try to get up all this military might to go attack it, because it takes like 18 power or something obscene to attack that city. So it's really, really cool. And then the fact that you're putting buildings out on your city, and then if, like, maybe I put a library on one, because I think the library lets you draw cards, but then I get one that maybe lets me draw 2 cards. So do I replace the library, or do I put it somewhere else so now I can draw 3? But by doing that, if I say override the library with the one that lets me draw 2 cards, it's removed from the game. Like, I don't get it back. It doesn't go back into the deck. It's gone. So basically the turn I used to buy it was moot and pointless. So you got a lot of interesting thought processes in the game. Valfyrion is a fantastic little, it fits in a little deck box like this. Even Valfyrion sits up on top, so it all fits in here. Probably not sleeved, unless they make the deck for the final copy a little bigger. But it all fits in there. It's got a lot of depth and a lot of strategy to it. However, the game does suffer from a few big problems that we didn't like it at all. The first minor one is you draw up at the beginning of your turn, and I don't know why companies do that. That's really annoying, because in a deck builder, I take my turn, and then I draw my cards at the end of my turn and go, it's your turn. That way I can look at my hand and go, okay, when it comes back around to me, I can do these things. These are what I can do. And then maybe you take a card and I go, okay, well, this is what comes out. Okay, so if somebody doesn't buy that, I could do this instead. So you're able to do your plotting and your strategizing when it's not your turn. And that way it cuts down on downtime. That way deck builders, generally a turn is boom, 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 boom. It just goes around. It's very fluid and fairly quick to go around. Whereas this, when you have to draw your cards at the beginning of your turn, you don't get to do that. You can kind of strategize and go, okay, well, if I have enough attack power, I'm going to do this. If I have enough buy power, I'm going to do this. If I have enough knowledge, I'm going to do this. Then you draw your card, you don't have enough to do any of that. So now you have to, on the fly, go, okay, how am I going to do this? And I guess it adds some tension, but then it also means it's going to be prone to analysis paralysis, because you're going to go, okay, well, what do I do now? And try to get that best outcome out of your hand, which you could have been doing on your opponent's turn. So I hate when companies, when deck builders make you draw cards at the beginning of your turn. Unless there's a damn good reason for it, let me draw my cards at the end of the turn. Like, unless there is a hard built-in mechanic that requires me to draw my cards at the beginning of the turn, there's no reason I shouldn't draw it at the end of my turn, because it allows me to cut down on downtime. I can strategize and plan while it's not my turn, so when it is my turn, I can go boop, 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 do what I need to do. Turn's over, it's your turn. That way, less downtime, people aren't getting bored. And it's a minor gripe, but it's a big gripe in my case. I do not like when companies force me to draw at the beginning of the turn. I think it's stupid. Now, the biggest gripe that I do have with the game, however, is Valfyrion himself. While all of it is a really cool mechanic, it only costs 8 knowledge to move him from his center layer to an opponent's city. Now, that's the part that I hate, because if I do that, I spend my 8 knowledge, put him over to yours. That's cool. Now, if you happen to not, because you don't get to draw until the beginning of your turn, so you don't even know how screwed you are, if you cannot put him back in the middle by the end of your turn that's about to come up, you're screwed. That city's gone. Doesn't matter how many troops it has, how much defense it had, how much nothing. That city's gone. You can go screw yourself. And I hate that. That is so dumb. That alone turned me off of the game, because you could be doing great, you can have a really strong deck, you can even be pretty good with your knowledge, you can have a lot of good knowledge generation, but you just happen to not get it that turn, so now you're down 1 city, go screw yourself. And I hate that. I feel that if anything, it should be like knowledge equal to the city's defense to get Valfyrion to go over there, or something like that. And then 8 knowledge to get him back. That way, you as the attacker with Valfyrion to just obliterate my city, because by doing that, there's no reason to focus on military, because it's just cheaper to move Valfyrion. Just stock up on tons and tons of knowledge to just keep pushing Valfyrion off on me. It's more efficient than just sending a bunch of military troops. And that's my biggest gripe with the game, is Valfyrion himself is way overpowered, because it's 8 knowledge is not hard to get in the game at all. And I say that because, 8 knowledge is not hard to get. But there were several times where I was at 7 knowledge, and I was 1 away. My deck was pretty good, pretty efficient. I just happened to not get that one last knowledge that I needed. So, guess I can go screw myself, and I hate that. I do not, because there's no real good defense other than knowledge. Like, I don't know, maybe if I could fight him off as well with attack power, that might also balance it out. Or again, it cost 8 to send him back to the middle, but it cost my city's defense to move, or it cost my city's defense for you to move him to that city. It would balance it out, but it's so cheap to move him there, and you have to rely so much on luck to be able to move him back out, or you just lose. Could be your strongest city, you just lost it. It sucks to suck. And that's my biggest gripe with the game. So overall, I'm torn on Valfyrion, because while all the mechanics that are in the game I really like, I like the whole city bit. Like again, I love Star Realms because it's super light, super quick, super easy to teach, and it's a good introductory deck builder, and it's got a lot of direct confrontation. And this is kind of the same. It's fairly simple. There's not a lot of actions you can do on your turn, and it's got that direct conflict, which is something that deck builders a lot of the time tend to kind of skimp on, is a lot of player interaction. A lot of deck builders, you're playing a solo game with other people. It's really what it is. And you're just trying to get your deck more efficient, faster, get to whatever the end goal is faster than everybody else. And that's all the player interaction is. This game has a lot of player interaction. It's got a lot of those city cards that are in the middle. It's got a lot of cool mechanisms where I can try to attack Valfyrion's lair, take his lair. I now have a 4th city, which is insanely powerful, and I lock you out of getting any of your relics anymore. It's so good. But with the fact that up until you can take Valfyrion's lair, which costs like 18 attack points, it's so hard to compete with, because of course if you're trying to do that to lock, maybe me locking you out of being able to move Valfyrion, I'm having to dedicate most of my deck to attack power, but then you start just amassing a lot of knowledge, and I can't compete with you. You just burn all my cities down with Valfyrion, and I can't do anything about it. So I feel that if they change that and balance that out, this game will be phenomenal. So until they kind of balance that out and balance out just how strong sending Valfyrion into a city and just burning it down is, I can't recommend this game. Outside of that though, if they fix that throughout the Kickstarter campaign, this game will be outstanding. I absolutely adored everything else about this game except for the dumb drawing at the beginning of your turn, and the fact that Valfyrion is so cheap to move around, and you rely on luck to push him back, and not just lose one of your cities outright regardless of its defense. So that is my review for Valfyrion. If they balance out the actual movement of Valfyrion himself, this game will be phenomenal. But until then, unfortunately, I have to give it a hard pass. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time in the quarantine.